Hi. Are you sick and tired of paying hundreds of dollars a month for cable or dish? GNR TV is your answer. These guys have an incredible 100% legal product that is a cord cutter's dream. For as low as $25 a month, you will get over 400 HD channels, including all major sports packages, pay-per-views, premium movies, and entertainment. To get started, all you need is a streaming device, such as an Amazon Fire Stick, internet, and a desire to save a ton of cash. No contracts, no credit checks, no hidden fees. I myself have been a subscriber, and I must say this service is amazing. To learn more, search GNR TV on Facebook or Instagram, and I will also be posting a link on my pages to check out on my podcast website. Lastly, for first-time subscribers, use promo code SIR30 to save $5 for your first month. GNR TV, streaming done right.
Let's get slicing and dicing with Sir Sturdy horror fans. On this podcast, you will hear me and a guest do some movie reviews, random funny horror chats, and whatever else comes to mind. So tune in, kick back, relax, and always remember, I'll see you in your nightmares.
Well, just Jason's mask.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another exciting episode of Horror with Sir Sturdy. I finally got the bearded weirdo on here, and how's it going, man?
Fantastic. I really appreciate you letting me be on here and stuff and taking the opportunity to talk to me.
I'm glad you came on here. We've been trying to get this together for like a year now, and we finally got it going. So we have a lot of cool shit that I've been mentioning lately. I've been mentioning on videos and podcasts. I got a lot of cool stuff coming on. All I'm going to say is he's a huge part of it. That's as far as we're going to go with it for now until we have our whole... I'm just going to say it right now. Until we have our whole team together, we're a team now, and we have all 6 of us together, that's when we're really going to be announcing some cool stuff. But until then, enjoy what we do. And I'm just going to jump right out here and say it. You have a crazy, crazy brain as far as when it comes to horror movies. My brother wants to do a zombie movie countdown, like top 10 zombie movies, and you have a shit crazy list, and you were just telling about some zombie boat show or movie?
I grew up in watching zombie movies, and I would say probably I guess really what got me into it, my dad actually let me, and which is unusual, my dad was into horror movies as well, but whether he would admit it or not, it's a different story, but when he let me stay up one night and watch Night of the Living Dead, the original 1968, and that kind of started a trend with me as far as I was like, zombies are awesome. Like, they're the ultimate siege monster. They don't need to sleep, they don't need to eat. And just kind of developed my love for zombie movies from there. And once I expanded that palette out, from breaking out the Romero side of things, started watching some of these other, the zombie films and television shows, and I think, with as far as the zombie culture is concerned, it's like, I don't know if it's oversaturated now. I mean, I don't know, and feel free to disagree with me on this one, but I think a lot of people feel it's oversaturated. But I think that, in my opinion, it's they're coming up with a lot more fresher ideas. There's not as many shot on video or SOD movies out these days, which anybody can really do a zombie movie, but it takes a special talent to actually come up with a completely different storyline than what, like just the dead just get up and walk, or, chemical spill or whatever, virus. But yeah, I've actually been recently watching a show on Hulu. It premieres a new episode every Friday. It's called Zomboat. Mm-hmm. And it's a British-made comedy, so if you guys like Shaun of the Dead, I really recommend checking it out. It's hilarious. It's got most of the actors and actresses. I'm not familiar with them, but of course I'm not much on as far as like British television, so they may be popular there. But the dynamic with them is just fantastic. I mean, they're you have the geeky, nerdy girl that plays zombie games and plays, Dungeons and Dragons, and she's fully aware of the zombie apocalypse and all the zombie, apocalypse rules. Aim for the head. Stay away from hospitals and heavily populated areas. So she's the one that's kind of running the show here, and then you have the her sister, which is the Instagram influencer, whatever they call them now. The Instagram celebrity, and she's completely oblivious as to what's going on. And then you have two British guys that are one is like big into his looks. He's working out. He has to have certain conditioners for his skin, and he's and of course getting blood all over his skin from killing zombies. It's hilarious. I mean, like I said, if you really are into Shaun of the Dead, it's along the same veins as Shaun of the Dead. It's a lot of goofy comedy stuff that they try to do serious things, and like one of my favorite parts of Shaun of the Dead is have you ever taken a shortcut? And he goes to be a badass and jump over the fence, and the fence falls over with him. That kind of thing. So, yeah. But like I said, it's on Hulu. It's definitely worth checking out. It comes out. There's a new episode every Friday. You guys can binge watch it right now because I think they have maybe 8 episodes out right now. So I recommend it.
That's something I'll definitely check out. I just watched. Oh damn it! I forgot what the name of the movie was again. It was a short film by his name is Tom Clark. And I met him at ScareCon about 3 weeks ago now. It's called The Price of Fame. It's a YouTube short. Fun, really fun movie. I say definitely check it out. And their network or whatever, the YouTube page is called the Flying Turkey Network. So definitely go check them out. Subscribe to that. Let's help them get going. And it's just students trying to make horror. He's into horror. They love horror. And I was like, listen, I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm definitely going to back it. Anything that you come out with, let me know. And I told him we're going to review it when we get it. We'll all check it out. We'll all review it when we get a chance to. And I'm not going to give you I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to say fun. It was a fun film. It was a really fun film. I definitely say check it out. It's about YouTube content creators. And I'm just going to leave it at that because if I tell you too much, it's going to give too much away. But it's about YouTube content creators, and it has a horror aspect to it. And the cinematography was freaking amazing. I feel like the story was really good. The special effects could have been better, but they're working on a small budget, so I respect that. And I respect how they did a lot of things they did in the movie. I like how they did it off screen, and I feel like they did that because of the budget. They're like, you know what, we have to do this off screen because we know it's not going to live up to the way we would like to they would like to live up to. So I respect that a lot. And the way it ended was awesome. I what I honestly hope is they continue with this and do maybe because it was a half hour long, 2, 3, or 4, maybe 2, 3, 4 things of it, and just the way it ended the same way, but with somebody new. And again, I think you would enjoy it. I really do. And you'd respect what these kids are doing, what their idea was, what their imagination was for this. And it was a fun time. I can't wait to see more from it. And it's just, I like seeing the younger generation getting into horror. And again, this guy, he's a college student. He's a senior, but I'm going to be 34 years old next Monday, so I can call him a kid. He's 20-something. I'm at that age now. I feel old. I know I'm not old, but I feel old when I'm calling people 25 years old kids. But again, and he's a real nice kid too, and he's real humble. I had him on the podcast before. I met him at ScareCon, and he just emailed me the other day and was like, "Thank you so much for sharing my work on your page and sharing it on a bunch of other pages. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Thank you for inviting me on again. I would love to come on again," and this, that, and the third. And I'm just I like stuff like that. I like that positive energy that comes from that, especially from anybody. But it's really cool coming from the youth because everybody expects the youth to be, disrespectful and all this stuff. And this kid's the complete opposite of it. And he has a real passion for this stuff. He's not getting into it I'm not saying he doesn't want to make money off it. Don't get me wrong, but he's getting into it because he really has a passion for horror. He really enjoys horror, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do next. I can't wait to see what he's going to do when he has a budget, which I asked him, he said eventually he would like to have an Indiegogo type of thing. And I was like, when that starts, let me know. Share that in the group, and I know the guys that I work with, my awesome team, will definitely support that. Share it, possibly back it, and this, that, and the third. And whatever we can do to help, I know we would all be there to help. As me and you were talking quite a few times about backing other projects and just promoting other projects, just because it's the right thing to do. I feel like if you enjoy it, why not say something cool about it? You know, it's that easy. It's that simple.
And that's it's something I think that's what's really going to breathe life into horror, as far as with uh, not necessarily the mainstream like a lot of people think. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some mainstream films out there that I do like, but it's filmmakers like him that keeps it interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they come up with fresh ideas, and sometimes not necessarily fresh ideas, but they put a new spin on it or new twist on it, and and that's why I enjoy. I mean, and really, is a treasure trove of independent short films, shot on video stuff. I mean, if you're into that kind of stuff, I mean, I like the shot on video, but they do a lot of great things, and a lot of it goes buried because again, they don't have anybody that's really out there to promote them or say, hey, check this out. So that's one of the things we would want to do for these people is actually get their name out there.
Exactly.
And hopefully they'll make something else for us, and make something even better than they made last time. And I just it's heartbreaking to see a lot of these great short films or even full length feature films they get swept under the rug. So and hopefully we can bring new life to that. Maybe start getting some people some recognition, because there's a lot of stuff that flies under the radar.
There really is. And that's one thing. Like, I mean, we're still gonna keep doing the reviews as far as like the big name movies and all that, but I really want to start ramping up the as far as doing like the independent films, the smaller budget films, all those. I want to do that a lot more. The silly, cheesy films, all that stuff, because they don't get enough light, and they deserve it. And I've said this before on the podcast. I stole this from my brother because he's originally said it, but the fan films, the independent films, and all that stuff, you guys are like the backbone of the horror community. I really feel that as far as when the movies come out, because the Hollywood movies, it's just about, I'm not going to say for all of them, but a lot of the big budget Hollywood horror movies, it's just about getting butts in the seats and getting that money. It's not really about what the fans like. But you guys are actual fans of these movies, are fans of horror. So it's like you're making these movies from a fan's perspective. You're not making it from like a bigwig's perspective. Okay, well, Halloween's a great example. I enjoyed the latest Halloween that came out, but that was more of like, okay, I'm sure some people who are on the film or who did the film are fans of the series, the franchise, and all that. But it would be real. I want to see you guys pretty much like the fan film people, the indie film people. I'd love to see you guys have the budget these Hollywood films make. And I bet you would blow them out the water easily, because you guys have that passion for it. You really, really appreciate and love horror. You do your homework on it. And you're not, again, I'm not saying you don't want to make money off it, because I know everybody does at the end of the day. But you're doing it because you have that passion for it. You really love it. That's what wakes you up. You live and breathe it. And you're just like, I want to create this. I only have this budget. Imagine these people, man. If they had like a $50 million budget, like a ridiculous budget, like even $100,000, $200,000 budget, with some of the stuff that these people do with their minimum budgets of $20,000 to $30,000. I actually had somebody on sometime last year. His name is Tyree. He made a movie with his girlfriend. It was a short film. It's called The Howl, which I think everybody should check out. His budget, he shot it on a camera he had. I don't know if it was camera phone or what, but the only money he spent was for it was like a werewolf movie, so he bought a werewolf mask from somewhere around where he lives, $15. But I respect that, because he wanted to do this movie. He wanted to do something in the horror. He wanted to make a horror movie. He wanted to make a horror short. And instead of making up an excuse like, I don't have the money to do this, I've never done this, he was just like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And he went and did it, and I checked it out, and it was actually pretty cool. It was actually pretty fun. It was a fun little short, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And anybody that does these short films, full-length films, independent horror, you guys are always going to be like first in line when it comes to the podcast. That's actors, actresses, directors, producers, all that, because we really want to push you guys. Because this is an independent podcast right here. We don't have a backing, we don't have a network, and so we know how that is being the small guy.
Yeah, and like I said, we definitely like to see. Of course, I've read some great fan fiction. which is something else that kind of flies under the radar. Is I mean, like there's like Star Wars fan fiction out there, and a lot of people that are Star Wars fans, you know, they have like a whole other universe of storylines and stuff they have with fan fiction, and to me, it's we kind of with the fan films, for instance. I watched a fan film. It was Jason versus Michael Myers, and it was just fantastic. I mean, it was like I don't know, maybe a 5 or 10 minute clip or something of just those two beating the crap out of each other, and it was like, wow. I mean, this is they bought masks from Trick or Treat Studios or some mask making company and created their uniform and outfit and just made a short film and they made a fan film. It was great. I mean, it was like it was something like more along the lines that we would want to see. That's that like we had a Jason versus Freddy movie, and we've had Ash versus Evil Dead versus I think it was Jason. I think I can't remember. It's been a while since I read comics. Yeah. But they did a comic book series of that, but. Because I mean, in the Friday the 13th universe, it kind of touches on the fact that Jason's a Deadite, and because they actually found the book of the Necronomicon in one of the Jason films. Oh. So that I can see where that kind of all tied in together, with that. But and it was, I mean, the tie-in stuff is like it's a whole other beast as well. Because like there's a game that I played. It's a completely independent game. The people didn't ask for any money. They just made it. It's a fan-made game. It's called Terradrome, and you can get it on the PC. And I want to say they actually have Xbox controller support for that as well. But they actually took all the horror movie icons, the Tall Man, Bruce Campbell's, Ash character, the Reanimator, Herbert West. They took Michael Myers, Jason, Chucky. And they put backstory twists on these things where all their stories tie in together, and like basically they exist in the same universe. Like, and basically the main protagonist of the game is Pinhead and the Cenobites, and of course they're trying to get the cube and trying to get some sort of supreme power or whatever. And the backstories they wrote on these characters was just phenomenal. Like they had Herbert West is trying to find the secret. Like he's trying. His main protagonist is Jason. He's trying to figure out what keeps him alive, what keeps him going. He should be dead, but he's not. Of course, Herbert West is obsessed with the reanimation of the dead, and the Tall Man and Pinhead are trying to get souls for their own nefarious purposes here. Which it didn't really just say what the Tall Man is or where he comes from, but Pinhead feels like that he is, stepping into his playground by taking souls into this other dimension instead of into hell, So he's after the Tall Man because the Tall Man is, stealing his souls. Leatherface is after the Tall Man because he wiped out his family in this town in Texas,
I like that.
Just fantastic stories, and I'm hoping maybe at some point some of these movie developers or even maybe some of these indie film developers might look at this and be like, hey, this will make a great story, and maybe get some sort of blessings for some of these production companies and make something like this. I mean, because let's face facts. I mean, how awesome would that be to have like a Leatherface, Phantasm tie-in, or a Reanimator and Friday the 13th tie-in. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
I agree. I would, all that stuff I would love to see, and again, I feel like the best source to do it as far as idea-wise would be the fan films, the indie films. Budget-wise, obviously Hollywood, but the fan films, because they'd put that passion into it, they'd really read the comic books and put as much as they're allowed to put into it, and they would really try to get our attention with it. It wouldn't be like a money grab type thing. It would be like, listen, I want you guys to really enjoy and love this movie and watch it over and over and over again. I want you to watch it a million times. I don't want you to just come to the theater and watch it 2 times in theaters and then that's it. Like, they really want you to get it. I just backed, about a month ago now, Never Hike in the Snow. I can't wait to get that. Got the Blu-ray thing of it. And I think that's going to be fantastic. Never Hike Alone was a great movie. Really enjoyed it. Probably one of the better fan-made films I've seen. And I was just saying this the other day, yesterday actually, on a podcast. As far as the Friday the 13th story goes, everybody knows Jason's my favorite. That's one of those stories where, like, in a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, how they're sitting around by the campfire talking about Jason, talking about his mother. I never get tired of that story. No matter how many different variations I hear it, I've heard it. No matter how many different times I've heard it, how many different ways, I just love hearing that story for some reason. It just draws you in. And it was so awesome on Never Hike Alone where they did it, the fan film, and I was just like, this is just, these guys get it. The cinematography was great, the movie was great. Jason threw somebody out of a window, which was fucking awesome. I love when he throws people through windows. Even though this one was out of the barn window, but still, it counts. And just the attention to detail that these guys do with these fan films it's so, I just love it. It's so rewarding. Like, they really, really pay attention to details from this. You can watch these movies, like, real small details, just like, holy shit, like, they really put this in the movie. It could be just a picture or something. It could be something small, and they really make sure you see that. And then on top of that, you support these films, you get, I mean, it might be small to some people, but how cool is it when you watch a movie go off and you see your name in the credits? You weren't in the movie, but you're like, I backed this movie, I put my $25, $30, $50 towards it, my name's in the credits. That's awesome. I got a Blu-ray copy of this movie. Only X amount of people got the first copy of this movie because we backed it. Stuff like that to me is awesome.
Yeah, and like I say, I mean, and doing that kind of thing is, really shows, you're dedicated to your craft, in my opinion, because, you want to see these movies get made. A lot of people, will blow smoke up somebody's ass. I like to see a movie get made, but they don't try to put forth any sort of effort to do it. So, I back a lot of films. I mean, even if I could just give $10, it still shows that I want to see this made. I want this to happen.
Yep.
And like, even if I can't do anything as far as like from a financial standpoint, if I can at least promote them or introduce them to other people in the horror network, because I mean, I'm friends with a lot of actors and actresses and things. Majority of them are wonderful people, and even if they just need advice, like, hey, I'm wanting to do this particular scene in my movie, and I saw that you did something similar to it. What do you recommend we use for, blood? What do we use for, what kind of latex did you use? So, and that, I may not actually, financially help them, but if I can get them to do a special effect, cheaper within budget, or, half cost, that's something,
Oh, yeah.
that goes a long way. And, I love promoting, like I said, promoting the horror, the independent horror films. Excuse me, and and like I said, and hopefully, not bash them and not, or have other people bash them, but hopefully, nurture them into doing something even better. Because I mean, let's face facts. Steven Spielberg and these other bigger directors had, if people come up and say, well, your first film sucked, don't do any more movies, that's very discouraging, and they wouldn't have made, some of the epic films that we grew up with. So I'm hoping a lot of these directors, that start out small and work with no budgets and can pull off something, impressive like that. Imagine what they could do with the budget, So, definitely promote these guys. Like I said, even if it's, if you can give a little bit to their, to the cause, or if you can just, like I said, help them out, by promoting them, anything helps, and
Oh, yeah.
horror is family. We're all family here.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that 1,000,000%. And back to what you were saying, like, if you can't financially help support them, and I mean, if you have a podcast, promote them on the podcast or YouTube channel. If you don't have a podcast or YouTube channel, hit the share button. It's that simple. Just hit that share button, because somebody on your news feed or somebody in another horror group that you're in will be like, oh, hey, this sounds cool. Let me throw my $5, $10, $20, whatever they can afford on there, or at least share. And it gets more eyes on it, and they eventually, get to check it out. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I just got to bring something downstairs real quick. Anyways, we're back, people. Quick little intermission. And, shit, I might as well do my plug real quick. I told you about it earlier, the GNR TV thing. Not sure what you have for cable. This goes to you and the listeners. You guys will hear it in the intro, but you can hear it again. Now, if you're someone who's a sports fan, the football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, all that stuff, golf, pay-per-views, boxing, mixed martial arts, which I freaking love, the UFC, rap battles, all that good stuff, movie channels, whatever else people watch on cable. And also, This comes with a password, though. Brazzers, the Playboy channel, and the reality one. I forgot what it's called. But all that, $25, GNR TV. Highly, highly, highly worth it. $20 with the promo code SEARCH30. I believe that's still in effect. First-time users, and I mean, you get all these channels, over 400 channels, and all that stuff, the pay-per-views and all that. $25 a month. You can't really beat that. You can't beat that at all. Go out there and get it, people. If you're someone who likes to watch TV, loves to watch TV, movies, and all that. And there is a horror channel. It's called Horror Channel Network or Horror Channel something. And they play horror movies most of the time. So yeah, go out and get that. Back to the show though. Had to do that little quick plug. I forgot what we were talking about, but I know we were talking about this before. I'm just throwing out some ideas. Like, I know my brother wants to do like a top 10 zombie movie. I want to do like a top 5 or top 10 horror car movie. I only know of Christine right now, and there's a movie you told me about called The Car. I know about what's the movie with the big ass truck? Damn.
Maximum Overdrive.
Boom, that. And I know there's more out there.
Well, I mean, you got Killdozer if you want to count that one, but yeah, it's not really a car, but it's not a killer bulldozer. So
I'll say a killer motor vehicle. It doesn't have to be just cars. It could be a car, a plane, a train, a boat, whatever. But the vehicle has to be the thing that's the being, so to speak.
And it's funny because Maximum Overdrive, like again, when I was a kid, like just terrified me. I'm like, holy shit, there's trucks everywhere. I mean, like, rigs are always running up and down the road, and I mean that was kind of scary. I mean, they had these people trapped, and it was just really a scary movie. And not to mention, of course, they did the AC/DC did the soundtrack for it, so that was pretty awesome too. But as far as like this whole Stephen King thing, there were so many of those movies like that scared me. Maximum Overdrive being one of them, Cujo being another one, and funny story behind that one. My grandparents had a Saint Bernard.
Oh shit!
Well, she was a partial Saint Bernard, something else, but she was looked like a Saint Bernard, and I guess evidently at some point she was out in the fields and actually she kind of nicked her nose a little bit on some barbed wire.
Oh.
And just a little scratch, nothing major, didn't slow her down none. But again, I'm thinking, okay, I was like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8, I guess, when this movie came out. So I saw this nick on her nose, and of course, Saint Bernards drool anyway.
Yep.
I'm thinking, oh God, she's got rabies, and she's gonna like tear the house to get to kill me and my grandparents, and. She's wanting to play, and she's she's wagging her tail and like trying to like play with me, and I'm freaking out, thinking, "Oh gosh, she's trying to bite me." It's not like it's traumatizing as a kid,
Oh, yeah.
And so yeah, I mean that's definitely people always ask me, what movies did disturbed you as a kid? That was definitely one of them.
That's awesome. And it's funny because I was going to ask you that, like, what movie really scared you as a kid? You just answered it right away. That I love that answer, and that. We're going to have to do another top 10 animal horror movies because there's so many of them.
Yeah, there's there's a whole, like, I mean, if you don't even touch on the atomic age stuff, you've got a lot of the late 60s, early 70s. Honestly, I would even say pretty much all the way through the entire 70s, they did a lot of, like, Day of the Animals, Night of the, pardon me if I butcher the name, Lepus or Lupus.
Mm-hmm.
Which is about the killer rabbits.
I would watch that.
They have Food of the Gods, which I actually watched not too long ago, where the genetically modified food that makes the rats grow to like the size of like cattle, and they go around the hillside killing people. So yeah, there's definitely a ton of like animal movies, and I mean, looking at them now, most people think that those are cheesy and they're silly and they're stupid, but animals really could turn on us at any moment,
Oh, hell yeah.
Your favorite pet that you love and snuggle with and sleep with and everything, can easily rip your throat out while you're asleep,
If they really wanted to, they could.
Exactly, and really, I mean, you kind of scoff and think, okay, yeah, that's kind of far-fetched. Not really, animals are, they are what they are, they're animals, They don't really have reasoning or, negotiation skills here, so those movies are a lot more terrifying than a lot of people give them credit for.
I agree with that, and you're right about them not having reasoning or anything. They're animals. That's in their instinct. That's what they do. They hunt. They kill.
Yeah, they eat, they mate, they have a basic instinctual, genetic DNA code that they follow, so, what's to say one of these days they can't be modified? Like, one of the movies I watched, it was shot sometime in like I want to say the late 70s, early 80s. It was about a movie that, it was sort of along the same vein as Night of the Comet.
Mm-hmm.
The sun had a solar flare and basically disintegrated most of the world's population, turned them into calcium. And this family was in a cave, like they were geologists, so they were shielded from the sun's rays. And they come back out, and like everybody's gone. The animals are flipping out and trying to kill them, and of course the EMP blast disabled all electronics, so it's like set them back in the dark ages. Scary as hell movie to be, like I said, it was like 1978, maybe 1982 range.
Okay.
It was a natural disaster, and it was something that wasn't man-made. It was a complete, solar, fluke, like a solar flare that happened, and the animals, it caused the animals to go crazy. Why it didn't disintegrate them, I don't know. It never really does explain it, but, I found those movies to be more horrifying than like I said, a 6'4" killing machine with a hockey mask on, or Leatherface. That is something that could possibly happen. So that to me is that movie's scary as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, it's just there's so many movies that people don't really put a whole lot of emphasis on and think, could this happen? Could this be something that we could we have to deal with? But yeah, like I said, maybe at some point in time we can touch upon those, and I can kind of give like a top 10 list of animal natural disaster kind of films, which incidentally, the Creep Show movie is what gave me my phobia of roaches. Like, I'm deathly afraid of roaches.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid of snakes, bats, rats, spiders. None of that stuff bothers me. But you throw a roach on me, and I will kill you to get away from it, kind of thing. Like, and it's so strange, but I think that stemmed from the Creep Show. The particular scene where the guy's like big germaphobe, and he lives in this like airtight apartment. And he has like all this clean stuff laying around. He's a clean freak. Everything has to be clean.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, these roaches start showing up in his apartment. And he tries to think all these sick, creative ways of killing the roaches. By the end of the movie, they're running in his mouth, and they're in his nose and his ears, and it was horrible. It was horrible. So that's kind of what gave me my fear of roaches. And I know it sounds silly, but hey, I guess got our phobias, but mine seems I guess probably tame by comparison.
Yeah, hey man, mine is heights and snakes. Like, I have real high narrow place, and snakes, forget about it. I'm not doing it. I will not deal with it.
I mean, snakes, yeah, definitely. And again, there's a lot of snake movies out there.
Yeah.
And some of you probably enjoy. I'll send your way and let you check them out. Rattlers is being one of them. About the rattlesnake population that suddenly, and later in the film it explains it, but initially nobody knows what happens. But then all of a sudden these rattlers are like invading people's homes and like coming up to the toilets and biting when they're laying in bed. So somebody that has a snake phobia would definitely find this movie terrifying.
I wouldn't say it's a phobia. It's like if me and you are hanging out and you have a snake on your shoulders or whatever, I'm not going to come up close to you. I can be in the same room. If it's in a cage, I can be in the same room, but I will not touch it. Don't bring it near me because I am going to run and I might scream. I can't promise.
You have what we call a healthy respect.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have a fear of them per se, but you don't want to be right up on them and meddling in their business kind of thing. Totally understand that, because that's kind of with spiders. If I see a spider in my house, I usually scoop him up, take him outside. I don't want to kill him. But now, like wolf spiders, on the other hand, I will destroy them. Like I will kill with extreme prejudice against them because they're scary. Like they'll straight charge you. One time I was actually in the bathroom doing my business. One decided to charge me and run up my leg.
Oh God!
One of the most vulnerable part of the process of being in the bathroom here, it runs up my leg. So at that point, I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm waging war on any wolf spider I see. He's dead. But like, black widows or, garden spiders, the little black house spiders that you see, I don't bother those guys. I usually take them, if they're in my way, I'll take them, scoop them up, put them outside, but I have a healthy respect for them. I'm definitely not going to stick my finger down there and pet them or anything, let them bite me,
No, hell no.
So I can understand, that's what we like to say. We don't call that really necessarily a fear or a phobia as much as it's a healthy respect,
You know what? With snakes, I mean, it's just, you see what they can do, and I mean, there's no big snakes like that around here that are just going off loose and stuff. And I remember when we were kids, my brother, which you'll meet him, Henry, he's like an outdoorsman. He loves that outdoors shit, fishing. He loves snakes and all that. And this asshole, it was a little garden snake, I'll admit it. But this asshole, he catches a snake, he's playing with it and all that. Then he threw it at me, and I just took off. And since then, I'm just like, I'm like, fuck snakes. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to hold them. I'm good. Like, I think I've touched one like one time. He had one as a pet. Him and his wife had one or two as a pet, and he took it out of the cage. He like, just, touch this. At least just. I'm like, okay. I tapped it with my finger. I'm good. That's it. I don't. I just don't like them. I respect them, as you could. Yeah, you could say I respect them. I can say I'm afraid of them to an extent, but again, it's not like a phobia, like where people have a real phobia. If they see something in the same room as them, they can't handle it. Now, my question to you is, if there was a roach crawling on that wall behind you, would you have to call your wife to come in and kill it, or would you be able to handle that?
I would probably just go ahead and set the house on fire and burn it down, kind of thing. And I've gotten better about it since I've gotten older, but it used to be when I was younger, when I would see a roach, I froze, like legitimately froze, like you said, paralyzed with fear, kind of thing.
Yep.
I don't know why. I mean, like I said, if you ever had to combat, a rat or a snake or a bat or something like that, those things could possibly, they have creative ways of killing you,
Yeah.
Whether it be by disease or venom, rabies, whatever. A roach really, roaches are disease-carrying creatures, but most of the time they will usually avoid man. They will not come near, us. They usually try to avoid us. So, but still, I see one, it's like, they freeze and I freeze. It's kind of like the good and bad and the ugly here standoff, because I'm looking at them, they're looking at me, and I'm looking at the door, like, can I make it to the door? I'm looking at my shoe, like, can I take it off and smash the thing, or throw it at it,
Yeah.
But as I got older and stuff, I've gotten, kind of manned up a little bit where I can actually get in there and kill them if I see them somewhere. Fortunately, I haven't had any issues with that at my house, but I used to work in cable TV, and there are some nasty individuals out there that have roaches, and they're like family, like they're like just okay with them being there, and roaches can get in your clothes and all kinds of crazy stuff. You can carry these things home.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes them more, I guess scarier, because like a snake you can toss it outside or kill it and it's done.
Yeah.
Very seldom do they have a nest anywhere. Some people, they worry like, I have a nest underneath your house. That if you see more than one snake, you've already got a nest. If you see one snake, no, he's probably just chasing a mouse. No harm, no foul.
Mm-hmm.
Spiders are the same way. You might see a couple of them, and but again, there's probably not a big infestation. If you see one roach, you've got an infestation.
Yes, you're right about that. Those bastards. I hate those bastards.
And you're laying there trying to sleep, and they're crawling all over your mouth, and and just, oh God.
I know.
It just really makes me cringe even thinking about it.
They're sick bastards. They really are. They really have no use. Like spiders, I respect them. I don't really necessarily like them in my face or in my house, but I respect them because they eat other bugs that get on my nerves. So I'm like, okay, well at least you're getting rid of this stupid ass fly that got caught in your nest. So I don't have to hear that stupid ass buzzing anymore. So you can stay over in that corner. That's fine. Just stay in your space.
Like I said, and spiders, like I said, they and that's why I try to tell people that are like, oh my God, I got a spider in my house, kill it. No, he's not. Granted, he's not paying you rent living there, but he is keeping your gnat population down. If you happen to bring a roach in from from a bag of potatoes, because trust me, you can get roaches from potatoes. They can hang out in potatoes. You take a bag of potatoes home, and you'll have a roach in your house. So, my spider population here is helping me keep mosquitoes and mites and things like that down. So, I have no problems with them. They can hang out, chill. Just don't get where I sleep.
Yeah.
Or I take a shower where I'm vulnerable. And we'll get along just fine. I will leave you at your nest and let you, catch bugs and do your thing. Of course, like I said, some spiders, most of them aren't naturally aggressive. Of course, we've seen movies. We've seen Arachnophobia and Kingdom of the Spiders, where you have killer spiders. That, again, people that have a phobia of this kind of stuff would probably
it messes with them
that much more watching a movie like that. And that's what I guess it's kind of what Creepshow did for me, I guess. And when it comes to these different animal movies and stuff, I mean, everybody's got some sort of a bug, snake, phobia, and and it just makes these movies that much more terrifying, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, though. I agree with that 100%. Freaking Jaws. Jaws is a big reason why a lot of people, including myself, will not go in the ocean. And I mean, I've been in the ocean as a kid and stuff, but now that I'm older, and between Jaws and then like watching like stuff on Animal Planet, those fishing shows, and you see the shit, just jellyfish, I'm like, okay, just walking around in the shallow water, people are getting attacked by sharks. I don't need to be in there. And
what was the big one that came? They did a remake a few years ago, Piranha. That was another one that scared the hell out of people,
Yes, and that was so good. Piranha. I like the 70s version. I like the 3D version. They did that so well. That's actually a really underrated. To me, it's an underrated movie. Both of them, it's an underrated remake that they did, because I feel like, I know they didn't do it shot for shot, but I feel they did a real good job with that remake. A lot of times with the remakes, they either go too far over the top or they don't do enough to please us fans. We'll watch it, but that was another one. I know I mentioned Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003 a lot. That was a really good remake, and I mentioned what the hell is the movie called? Evil Dead. The Evil Dead remake. I like the Evil Dead remake more than I like the original. I'm sorry, but I just enjoyed it more. It was crazy. It was real gory. I loved the blood at the end, where it was like raining blood, and it was beautiful.
And that's something that I know that this big. It's been a big topic of discussion amongst the horror community. A lot of groups that I'm on Facebook and Twitter and things. People are always griping about remakes or reboots and things, and in unpopular opinion, Tom, I'm not big on remakes. Like, I believe that these movies are classic for a reason.
Yeah.
But now I have some that actually I do like better than the originals. The Thing being one of them. I don't know if it's because I saw the 1980s Thing first, as opposed to the Thing from Outer Space.
Mm-hmm.
That was set back in like the 50s.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I'd like to, though.
I mean, I like both films. Don't get me wrong. I just like John Carpenter's The Thing much better. It's scary. I mean, it's really a horrifying movie. The special effects are phenomenal. It's just a really great claustrophobic movie.
That movie was amazing.
And then there was 13 Ghosts. Again, I like the original, but I like the remake better. They put more of a backstory, more of a spin on 13 Ghosts on the remake.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually gave the characters, the ghosts in there, a backstory. Now, if you dig deep enough with the original 13 Ghosts, you can find some backstories on those ghosts. But the fact that they did a whole dark Zodiac thing with the 13 Ghosts was really a nice twist on it.
Yeah.
So like I said, there's a couple of movies out there. Evil Dead, of course, again, I'm a big Bruce Campbell fan, so I like the original. I stayed true to the original. However, I didn't hate the remake. I mean, I thought it was a good attempt at doing a remake. Friday the 13th, for instance, the reboot they did with Friday the 13th, I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact they made Jason a weird kidnapper kind of guy. I mean, now granted they made him more human. Give him more human aspects, I guess, because the Jason we all grew up knew and loved was he's a straight up killing machine.
He is.
He doesn't care what color, what sex, what your political views are, your religious preferences. He don't care. You're dead.
Mm-hmm.
He sees you, you're dead. So the remake Jason, they kind of gave him more of a human persona to him, where he, I don't know if it was because he was in love with this girl or because she reminded him of his mother. It never really does kind of go into a whole lot of detail, but
it was not to cut you off. It was because she looked like his mother, like the little necklace thing that he had
yeah,
looked just like his mom, and in his mind that was like his mom, which that's one. I mean, I did enjoy the remake. I didn't love it. Excuse me. That's one. That's another reason why I didn't love it right there. Maybe I loved it, but I didn't. It wasn't up there for like with the rest of them. That was another reason. Like I didn't like the kidnapping thing. I did it. I loved the tunnel. I thought that was cool because I was like, it's cool how he's getting. It makes more sense to how he's getting everywhere so freaking fast. He has the tunnel. He's been there his whole freaking life. He should be able to do that.
and you're right. I mean, that made him more, I guess, more human-like. He has more human-like traits because I know in the Friday the 13th game, they gave Jason some sort of a, I guess like like I touched on the whole Deadite thing from the Evil Dead series. They gave him I guess the Deadite ability to travel like at like superhuman, speed and like almost ethereal, where he's not really physically there, but he can transfer his form, I guess, into different locations. So when the camp counselors are on the other side of the camp, you can actually turn into this ethereal form and then all of a sudden reform and show up, close to where the camp counselors are. So, but yeah, I thought that was a great touch with the fact that they did make him more. Like I said, was I crazy about the movie? It wasn't bad. I watched it again to make sure that I gave myself a chance to like it because I've watched movies before, hated them the first time I saw them, and went back into them again and watching them and like, okay, now it makes a little more sense. Or I'll read up on it and try to understand where the director was going with it. And again, it makes more sense after I give it a second go, which explains why a lot of the movies I watched as a kid I hated, and now watching it again as an adult, I'm like, oh, it's clear now. I understand where they're going with this, and this makes this movie much better now. I know The Hanging Woman is a prime example of that one. Again, we're touching on zombies here. The Hanging Woman, I grew up again with like Romero and Return of the Living Dead, so I'm used to these siege type zombie movies. Flesh eating, zombies killed with a headshot kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I picked up The Hanging Woman at the local video store, and mind you, this movie has like 13 different titles.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why exactly. And one of the titles even has Dracula in it, and Dracula's not even in the movie. Like, there's no way anybody named Dracula in the movie, but for some reason they slapped a Dracula title on it. But anyway, so I rented it under Vengeance of the Zombies title, and when I started watching it, it pops up The Hanging Woman. I'm like, what the hell is that? What is that? That don't make any sense. But then at the beginning of the movie, there's a hanging woman hanging from a tree. So I'm like, okay, well, hence that makes sense of that name. But as I started watching it, there starts being more zombie action in it. It's not zombies, again, not like the Romero type or anything. They are slow moving. They are murderous, but they don't eat flesh.
Yeah.
They're kind of a sort of a voodoo science kind of thing. And I watched it, I'm like, God, the pacing's so slow. I hated it, and it was just like, this is nothing what I like. Again, I grew up watching zombie siege type movies, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. So years later, I'm in my early 30s, and I happen to find this movie somewhere at some kind of a con or something I was at, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, hey, I remember this title. I remember watching this when I was like 8, 9 years old, And that's how I picked it up. I was like, it's a zombie movie. I collect zombie movies. I got to have this for my collection. And started watching it again. I'm like, wow, this is very Hammer Productions kind of feel to it. The pacing, it's creepy, it's eerie. The story really, it develops later on in the film, but it gives you this, like, you don't know who is creating the zombies or why. You have your suspicions as far as, like, everybody in the movie's a suspect. the mistress, the wife, even the nephew that shows up. He's supposed to be the antagonist of the film here, and you even at some point suspect him. So all of a sudden, and then by the end of the film, it's the person you least suspected, and has a really good climax. And like I said, the story eventually starts building up. Now I love the movie. It's like one of my favorite movies.
That's awesome.
Again, like I said, if you're a big fan of of Hammer films, you'll definitely enjoy this film because it's very, very Hammer. Like I said, it's British. Has Paul Naschy in it. I love Paul Naschy. I'm a big Paul Naschy fan. He's the Spanish Bela Lugosi, as they call him. I pretty much love anything he's in, though. I'm not gonna lie. He's done werewolves. He's done the devil. He's done warlocks. He's done such a wide array of characters and everything. And he plays a grave. He's a grave digger, but he also robs graves, and he's a necrophiliac.
Oh shit!
So yeah, he's a really jacked up character, and he plays the role so well. He's so creepy, and but yeah, it's definitely one of those films that you can really appreciate. Like I said, if you were into that Hammer type, gothic whodunit style films, this is definitely one to check out, though.
I'm the type, I'll check out anything, like it, love it, hate it. If I haven't seen it, I'll give it a shot and go from there with it. Right now I'm at the point, especially because of the podcast sake and just being a horror fan, where I want to really expand on like movies that I have not seen, especially from like different eras. Like I haven't seen any horror movies from the 50s into the 60s and early 70s, I'll say. Like, I've seen a few from the 70s, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the big name ones from the 70s. But as far as, like, the smaller names from the 70s and back, I haven't seen, and I would really like to get into that. All different genres of horror, all different eras of horror, and just not only for myself to see it and us to review it, but to put it out there for other people who haven't heard of these movies and maybe would like to watch these gems. They just haven't heard of them because they're not the big name movies, or they're not what everybody's talking about. So that's another thing that I want to get to when we start doing more episodes, is like not just, indie films, yes, but also older films, and as well as, sprinkling in the new stuff and whatever else people want to come on and review with us, or whatever else somebody asks us to review, whatever. But like I think number one is going to be indie, and then after that it's older stuff mixed in with whatever. But I get to see a lot of crazy.
It's funny because the 60s, now, there are a few 50s films. Most of the stuff, like from the 40s and 50s, they really couldn't do anything as far as with, like actual, like, butchering, murder, like, kind of thing. So, that was really more limited to strangulation. If you watch The Wolfman and Frankenstein and all them, they just strangled their victims, and that was it, kind of the end of it. But now, the 50s, you'll see some certain films will start throwing in hints that something or someone got brutally murdered. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I think those movies, to me, are like the pioneer films of what's really started some of the more gruesome graphic films. And the 60s actually was one of the first, that was the first era, the early 60s, when they actually started showing blood and showing lots of blood in graphic ways. One of the films I remember seeing as a kid, it was called Color Me Blood Red. And the cover is just horrifying. Like, it has this guy that has this woman's stomach ripped out, and he's got a bowl underneath her stomach and catching the blood and everything, and he paints with it. Apparently he's a big award-winning, artist, but that's his secret, is his vivid, bright red colors. It's actually blood of his victims. And if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that was actually one of the first, like, really openly gory horror films, like, where they actually did large amounts of blood and, like, actual mutilations of people. And obviously, when they first came out, they thought it was a snuff film. They actually thought this guy was actually going around murdering people. And, and if they first saw the movie, naturally the special effects are just that good,
Yep.
And so, there's one of my favorite movies is it's Creature with the Atomic Brain, and it's sort of a Universal Soldier, I guess. It's kind of, I'd be willing to bet Universal Soldier ripped off a lot of this movie because it's about a army of these atomic supermen, kind of people that have died recently that were reanimated through electricity and atomic radiation. And one of the scenes, he grabs one of the victims, the zombie, whatever. They have superhuman strength. He picks the guy up, and it goes back to the shadow, and you watch him break the guy in half.
Oh shit!
Like touch his heels to the back of his head. So I was like, wow, that's like for the 50s. That's like completely shocking. Like that, you would never see that in a Universal film, or even the early Hammer Productions things. You never see anything like that. I mean, he really broke this guy in half.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, when the first time I watched it, I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I never would have expected that out of a 1950s film. And another one that was really cool was the Brain That Wouldn't Die. Again, it was taken back in like sometime in like I want to say like maybe the late 50s, early 60s. I want to say maybe like 61, 62.
Yeah.
A guy gets his arm ripped off. And, the creature is like completely deformed, and, again, I won't spoil too much of the film, but this guy gets his arm ripped off, and like there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, this is a black and white movie. So, again, it's like, it's kind of like they were kind of pushing those boundaries for those films. Like, again, you came from atomic age stuff where you have giant bugs and, the fear of the nuclear bomb and, a lot of political aspects of it. Then you have these other films that were, slowly pioneering in sort of a guerrilla warfare kind of way, was introducing more graphic, shocking death scenes and things. So, in order to really appreciate newer horror, you have to kind of appreciate where it came from. And that's why I really got back into that when I was a kid. I watched a lot of stuff that came out in the 80s, because that's when I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched a lot of stuff from the late 70s and up through the 80s, and I thought, okay, I need to start giving some of these older films a chance, these black and white movies and things, because I was, obviously you're a kid, black and white's stupid.
Exactly.
Who wants to watch stuff without any color on it,
Yeah.
So, I was like, well, I'll give it a shot, just to see what all the hype's about, what's so scary about Frankenstein, what's so scary about the Wolfman, and so you eventually get into it, and you, like I said, you start noticing little nuances like that, and like where a lot of these stories, where a lot of these things came from, with like I said, the creature of the atomic brain is almost verbatim Universal Soldier, except the zombies or whatever in Universal Soldier, they use guns and they have to recharge or whatever. But it's the same concept. These zombies have to go back to this heavily irradiated room to recharge their internal batteries. So I'm like, wow, I thought all this time Universal Soldier was an original film, original storyline. No, it completely ripped it off from this atomic age movie.
See, now again, this is a big reason why. Well, one of the reasons why I'm glad we're working together, because this is really going to help with me with my horror knowledge, because you have so much of it, and it's, oh man, this is only the beginning, people. I just can't freaking wait. Like, it's just, like I was saying, I really want to get as far as watching a lot of older horror movies, and then just obscure horror movies, foreign horror, I've never really gotten into it. I'm not going to say I'm not into it, I've never really gotten into it, and just, see what happens with it, because there's so much out there that I haven't seen, that I've missed or skipped over just because I just felt like it wasn't interesting to me. Or again, a lot of it's because I never heard of it and never seen it, and never got a chance to see it. But now,
and then really, and that's kind of how I was growing up. I was like, why would I want to watch something from Spain, or why would I want to watch something from Italy, or why would I want to watch something from Japan? I never really expanded my mind on that. Never thought, well, okay, because I mean, when it comes to other countries and stuff, they have their own other I guess legends and and ghost stories and things that's completely unique, and some of it's really really scary. Um, honestly though, like with unpopular opinion time, I don't like psychological thrillers as much. Like Suspiria, I wasn't a big fan of Suspiria. And a lot of people were probably gasping, and would probably call me a few choice names for saying that, because Suspiria has been like a big horror staple, but I just never had. I mean, I watched the original, and it's just so slow. Now, I was probably a teenager when I saw it, so I probably should give it a chance now that I'm older. But yeah, so with some of these movies, it's like I hated it as growing up and stuff, and then like I said, I got a lot of foreign films that I really really like. Like I said, Paul Naschy, opened up a whole other door for me with Spanish horror, and I watched a lot of Mexican films, and the Mexican cinema is just great. I mean, if you like a lot of like outrageous, like they have luchadors. I'm sure you've heard of El Santo. El Santo, and it's funny because I talked to a lot of friends of mine that are from Mexico, and they said that El Santo he's serious, like he's boss down there. I mean, we think okay, some silly guy running around with a mask on, wrestling zombies and Frankenstein, and I personally think it's awesome. I mean, I like that kind of stuff, but we think that's silly here, but down there he's like an idol, like he is the man. He's Chuck Norris. Actually, no, he's not even Chuck Norris. Like Chuck Norris wouldn't even be like on the radar compared to El Santo. They have statues erected to this guy in a lot of villages. And a friend of mine that I worked with told me he said that those movies were terrifying to us. And I'm like, really? I mean, El Santo was like in the ring with the Wolfman, like doing a figure four leg lock and a German suplex, I don't see how that's scary, but again, that's their culture.
Exactly. Yep.
But they said they used to actually take big, like screens and everything, and they would put them up in the villages, and they would have these like big movie nights, and like the whole village would show up there.
That's awesome.
Watch these movies, I'm like, God, I was so jealous. I was like, I would love to do that. But again, that's kind of what got me into the Mexican culture there, with as far as with the way they do things with their movies and how they take their characters very seriously. So
that's good to hear though. Just more stuff to branch out and check out and open not only our eyes but listeners' eyes to other types of horror and putting more stuff on the map, so to speak. I mean, I'm not saying, obviously there's a ton of people that have heard of these foreign horror films, but usually it's somebody like you who's like a really, really deep horror fan. Not that we're all not, but you really like do your homework on it and freaking probably annoy your wife with some of your horror knowledge. And I think it's just awesome. I think it's amazing. And now we can discuss that, share that with each other, and share that with others, and get more of this stuff seen, so people have more respect for horror in general. Like they should. Not just casual horror fans, people in general that are just like, why did you guys watch these? I'm like, look, these movies actually have some really good stories if you really pay attention to these movies. It's not about, I mean, it is, to an extent, it is about the blood and guts with some movies, but it's not just about that. I'm like, watch this movie and try to understand this killer.
I mean, and you're right, because I mean, like I said, initially growing up, I really got into horror, like you said, because of the blood, the guts, the slaughter, and as I got older, it really got into more of the story. I mean, like, a lot of people, and when Friday the 13th came out, a lot of people were like, okay, there's a big psychotic killer, killing all these, these camp counselors and everything, but nobody really understood the backstory. Why is Jason so angry? Why was his mother, killing people in the first one? So there's really a complex story behind it. And as I got older, I started to appreciate those stories more. I mean, instead of just like I said, watching the mindless killing and blood and guts, which is still fun.
Oh yeah.
But as you get older, you start really noticing a lot of the storylines and what draws people to and like when we talked about the fan films, what would cause somebody to actually want to make a fan film? It's the story, obviously.
Exactly.
So that's it's a big deal when you get older to actually have a more developing storyline, and not there's anything wrong sometimes with just jumping in there and just like doing a complete slaughter, killing everybody you see type movie with no real rhyme or reason. Which I think a lot of people felt that way about Halloween 2 with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. A lot of people thought that was just a mindless, cash in on the first one, the success of the first one. He just basically goes around killing everybody he sees in the second one.
I wasn't a fan of the second one, mainly because of the damn horse and everything else, the weird stuff that happened. The killing, I don't mind. But what you were saying, as far as movies go, as far as like they just come out with just killing and no real story, this Terrifier is a great example of that. But I really enjoyed this movie. I love this movie, and the kill. I mean, one of the best kills, the upside down kill, is probably one of my favorite kills. It's not. Never did a top 10 list for this. I have to really think about it and study it. But it's definitely one of my favorite kills that I've seen on film ever. It would definitely be in my top 10, top 13. I'll even say, just for the horror's sake. But that movie right there, I mean, it's psychotic, it's crazy, it's wild, it's gory, it's bloody, and it hooks you in. It hooked me in, and I'm just like, and Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton, I feel like he did an amazing job with the clown, because how many killer clown movies have you seen where the clown doesn't say one word, but he's still funny in the movie? Like, he's like a clown mime. I don't know if clowns and mimes are the same. I'm guessing they're similar. I have no clue. But I like how he was just, like, his body language, the way he was moving around in the movie, the way he was, like, just everything he did in the movie was cool. And then when I heard they were doing a sequel, I'm like, this is going to be fucking amazing. And there's going to be, I guess with the sequel, there's going to be more of a story to it. It's not going to be just, like, mindless killing and all that. And I can't wait. I really can't wait for that. And I don't know, man. I freaking just love it. I would like them to do. I believe that they're going to be doing. I believe they're going to be doing a trilogy of this. I would like them to do at least 3, if not 4 or 5, because I really feel Art the Clown could be like that new slasher, that new iconic slasher that we haven't had in years since pretty much Jason, Michael, Freddy, Chucky, Leprechaun. Since those guys, we haven't had anybody since, in my opinion. I mean, you can throw Scream in there, I guess, but I don't really put that up there with them. But that's just me, and that's not even my personal feelings about Matthew Lillard and Skeets. That's just how I feel about the movie in general. I don't really put them up there with those iconic killers.
I mean, well, actually, Art the Clown, I want to say he was actually in another movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of a cameo, I think, but it kind of touches on that he might be some sort of a demon or like a monster of some sort. And actually, when I did an interview with him a while back, he kind of touched upon that, and never really. He obviously didn't go into a lot of detail because that is going to tie in with the second one, and like you said, possibly the trilogy. If they do a trilogy, they're going to kind of do a grand reveal kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, so he's definitely got his roots somewhere, and I think it's kind of what makes him, makes him more unique. He's not some weird psycho guy going around killing people. Now, a friend of mine actually introduced me. It's funny you mentioned clowns. A friend of mine introduced me to. I can't remember the name of the movie now. I'll have to find that. But it was about a clown that was, I guess, wrongfully murdered. I guess, or maybe killed in an accident of some sort. But he comes back, and there's it's a silly storyline. I mean, it's meant to be silly. I mean, obviously, clowns.
Yeah.
Because apparently there's like a whole coven of clowns, and like they have this like pact that if they're wrongfully killed or things are bad deeds are done to them, they have this power to come back and get revenge for themselves.
Nice.
And this clown does all kinds of crazy like clown themed murders on these people that supposedly had killed him. And I thought to myself, I was like, this is kind of goofy, but at the same time, it actually ended up being a really good movie. I want to say it was on Netflix at one point in time, which is actually where I watched it. But and I hate that I can't remember the name of it, but it was a really good movie. I mean, it was just really It was low budget,
Yeah.
kind of an indie title, but it was really good. I mean, they took this weird storyline and just ran with it.
I'm gonna have to, when you find out what that name is, I definitely want to check that out because I'm all into stuff like that. I love crazy, wild movies that just have that weird twist to it that doesn't make sense, but then at the end of the movie, it ends up being a good movie. I love those.
Yeah, they just like I said, they had this like really oddball storyline, and just like I said, they just took off running with it. It was fairly unique. I mean, I guess, and unique in a sense that they did something with clowns and like them being like a demon coven sort of, I guess, society. Most people think of clowns. Clowns are just, clowns. There's really nothing. I mean, they're not supposed to be terrifying, but they, for some reason, are to people. But in this particular storyline, these clowns have like they're a more sinister, backstory, I guess. And I like again, I like what they did with it. It was like really, it was really unique, and it was definitely one that I had never heard of. And being my age and being that I've watched, thousands upon thousands of movies and stuff when it comes to horror, it's like, really finding unique ideas these days, which is why I support the indie scene and a lot of people do short films and stuff because they have so many great ideas, things that haven't been done before. And, when you find something like that, it's like, it's amazing. You're kind of like, great, this is, I hope that they make more movies, with this storyline or, so that's why a lot of times that I try to really support the indie scene and hopefully they'll make more unique movies because a lot of people complain, especially with modern horror, that stuff has been done to death. It's been you're beating a dead horse, you're milking a dry cow. A lot of people got angry when they started talking about rebooting, the Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. I guess in a sense with me, I was a little miffed at the idea because they saw that how successful these films were back when they first came out.
Mm-hmm.
But with horror these days, you have cell phones and GPS and social media and all this other stuff. So honestly, if you're driving down some back road or you're stuck in some camp, chances are there's going to be a cell phone tower somewhere close by. There's a crazy guy with a hockey mask. Let me call 911 from my cell phone. Or let me post it on Facebook. Let me get a YouTube video of it,
Yeah.
So I notice a lot of directors have started reverting back to pre-Facebook and pre-cell phone, ages. Watched a zombie movie not too long ago. It was about a camp, sort of a nightmare, Friday the 13th type spin, but there was more than one killer, obviously, and they were all zombies. But they actually went back to the 80s.
Oh, nice.
Like, so it was the whole film was set back in the 80s. It was shot like just a couple of years ago, but they were trying to do the whole 80s theme, with clothing and the era correct cars, lingo, hairstyles. I like what they did with it. Now, perhaps I don't know that maybe the newer generation would understand how terrifying these movies were because we didn't have that stuff growing up.
I know.
So if Michael Myers busted in your house back then, you were done for.
Yeah.
I can't post on Facebook, hey, LOL, Michael Myers is in my house trying to kill me. Somebody call the police, or I can't call 911 from my emergency dial on my cell phone. Michael Myers is going to rip the phone out of the wall and he's going to strangle me with the telephone cord.
Yep.
That's what made it scary.
Exactly.
There's not a damn thing you can do about it.
I agree with you. I agree with you on all of that right there. Like that's with some newer horror movies, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but with some newer horror movies, I do like how they use the newer technology and how they make it work against. The new Child's Play is a good example. Like I said, they made the new technology work against them because Chucky, he controlled all of that because everything was controlled through like the same company or whatever. I do like that, but I do when they do remakes and stuff. Friday the 13th is a great example. I've told you this before. I wish that they would have did it more. I wish they would have did it based in the 80s and more of a darker tone, more serious. Because Friday the 13th movies, for the most part, they're dark, they're serious. There is some comic relief, which does not bother me at all. Because when you go out camping, There's going to be some funny moments. There's going to be some people acting stupid and doing silly shit. But
Oh, absolutely.
that movie, there was just way too much of it there was just way too much of it, and like I said, I really did enjoy the movie. I went to go see it twice, and they dropped the ball with it like that, but the kills were great in it as usual. Like every Friday the 13th movie has awesome kills. If you love the movie or not, they have some of the greatest kills. And they didn't fail with that, but I just feel it would have been a better movie overall if they would have just taken it more serious, had the dark tone to it, took out all those corny jokes, had a few corny jokes in there, and just to take away the cell phones, all that stuff, because it takes away from the feel of it.
Well, and see, with me, I think that's what they did with Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. I'm probably repeating time. I hated it. Like I've really watched it several times to see if I can make myself like it, or maybe I just didn't appreciate it the first time I saw it. I don't like it, and I think that's what they did with that. With Freddy makes that movie good because he is, he's humorous. He cracks a lot of jokes. And a lot of bad one-liners before he kills people. That's what makes Freddy unique.
Yeah.
This guy, they try to do a more darker undertone as far as where he came from and what his backstory. And he just wasn't scary. He just wasn't, he just wasn't creepy at all. Like I just didn't like the movie. Now, I mean, again, with the backstory, I'm kind of glad that they actually did flesh out because it never really. I think Freddy's backstory was kind of lost in transition throughout the films.
Yep.
He was a child molester / murderer, or he was just a child murderer, or he was born of a psycho and a nun's.
They switched it up so many times in the original series, but we enjoyed it.
So you really don't understand where Freddy came from or what his really his reasoning is. So I kind of like the fact that and like even with the remake of Halloween with Rob Zombie. A lot of people hated the film. I liked it. I like the fact they did a backstory on Michael and kind of, they kind of, you can understand why he became psychotic or what his growing up, his childhood. You can see why he would be psycho and want to do sadistic things.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I actually really enjoyed the Rob Zombie one, the remake, the first one, I loved it. The second one, not so much. And in case you're looking for some new music, in case you didn't know about this, the guy who played Michael Myers as a kid, he raps now. So.
Really?
Yeah. And it's funny because I met him at ScareCon a couple of years ago and didn't mention Halloween. I went there, I was like, I want to get his autograph. I thought he did a good job in the movie. Didn't really talk about the movie at all. He just talked about his YouTube channel, which I don't remember what it's called, and his rap career. Like, he's rapping now, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool, but I want to talk about Halloween. Like, I was like, you're real cool in Halloween, and he's like, yeah, thanks. And then, check out my YouTube and check out my rap, which I get it. Like, you want to promote your stuff, cool, but give the fans what they want. Give us something about the movie, and then maybe give me a business card for your YouTube channel that I'm never going to check out, and, then discuss it, but I figured I'd throw that out there in case you guys want to hear some hip-hop music from this guy.
And it's funny because I met him a couple years ago at Scarefest in Lexington, and he wasn't bad. He didn't seem standoffish or anything.
Oh, not at all.
Of course, that was kind of his claim to fame was Halloween. He was kind of like, everybody's like, oh, I loved you in Halloween. He's kind of like, yeah, And we're like, what are you doing now? I mean, we thought, surely he's going to be he's probably starting an episode of SVU or maybe been on, some popular television show at the time. Maybe he was still doing the acting thing. And he said, me and my mom run a taco truck out of like Pasadena or something. And I'm like, that's it? Like, that's all you do? He's like, yeah. He said, we just run a taco truck out of like Pasadena or somewhere in California.
Wow.
And I was like, you haven't pursued acting or done anything else? He was like, no. He said, I think he was like in maybe a commercial or maybe some kind of a short film or something. But he said other than that, he never took up acting again. That was just the only time he'd ever done it.
Wow. Well, he raps now. He's actually going to be at the con I'm going to next month. Wicked, what the hell is it called? Wicked Weekend out in Connecticut. He's going to be there. But if I see him, I'll talk to him or say hi to him because we did the VIP thing again. So I'll definitely be rubbing elbows with people when I can. But I don't want to talk about his music career. Like that's not what
Yeah,
I'm going there for.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I would like to see him, maybe possibly get into something else. If he's, I mean, he played a really creepy kid, creepy, young Myers.
Yeah, and I feel he could do more from that. I mean, different type of horror. I think he could be. I think he'd be really good in horror movies. And he's still young, and he's like skinny. He's like skinny, tallish, so he can still play like that young role, not like a not preschool. What the hell is it? Middle school, but like a high school kid. He can still play that role if he wanted to, or older. And I think he'd really do a good job at playing that creepy asshole kid or whatever, or the creepy murderer or whatever type of deal.
Yeah, like I said, I think, yeah, I think that's kind of where I think he's afraid of people is pigeonhole him into being, the kid from Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I could kind of see some celebrities get kind of irritated but at the same time, I think they should be appreciative that that their acting was that good that they remembered for a particular role. But playing devil's advocate here, though, I can understand that they've done other roles and want to get recognized for those. Like Kane Hodder, for instance. First time I met Kane Hodder, I had mentioned something about one of his other roles. He did the BTK role, and he played Ed Gein.
Oh.
And so I actually, when I went up to him, I said, I really liked you in Ed Gein. I thought you did a hell of a job. And he was like, and he had this like surprised look on his face, like, you didn't mention anything about Friday the 13th. I was like, no, because you are a more versatile actor. You've actually starred in other movies that wasn't, Friday the 13th, or while you're playing some mindless killer,
Mm-hmm.
He's had a ton of cameos in movies. Like, he was in Pumpkinhead too.
Yep.
And he was in the Jason Goes to Hell. He was actually, he had a couple of roles in there. Besides playing Jason.
Freddy's Glove, and I think he was a cop or a security guard in that.
Yeah, and so but he was really pleasantly surprised. He was like, well, what did you like about it? We sat and had a conversation about his roles as the BTK and in the Ed Gein movies and stuff. He was like, he said, I really appreciate your input. He's like, most people just see me as Jason and that's it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times if I see somebody that's popular that I may not have watched another film of theirs, I still try to research them and maybe watch the film so I can say, hey, I loved you in this movie. So that way they're like, oh, I'm not one of the mindless people that have only seen one film and one film only. I try to expand my palette a little bit here. And they really, are, really appreciative of that. And of course, there's some people actually they like being, known as the person from this movie.
Oh yeah.
And they really eat that up.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, some people you just have to really. That's why a lot of times before I go to cons, I like to talk to other folks that have met people that I haven't met yet, and can say, okay, what should I talk about? What do I need to stay away from? A lot of people will say Linda Blair, she doesn't like to do the whole Exorcist thing. She doesn't like to really talk about Exorcist, even though that's kind of her claim to fame. And I know she's done other films and she was really good at them, but she doesn't like the fact that she has been pigeonholed as the chick from Exorcist,
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why a lot of people, they say, when they go to cons and they mention that, she gets really upset about it. But, you did a really fantastic job, and it's an iconic movie. That's a staple in a lot of horror fans' libraries.
Definitely.
So but you have to kind of expect that kind of thing. And if you don't like what what you're doing with that, and don't like that attention, then stop doing cons.
Mm-hmm.
Stay out of the limelight, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can get it from both perspectives because they want to be known for more than that. But like you're saying, it's like if this was your claim to fame, this is your iconic role, just eat it up. Just hey, cool, thank you. Here's your autograph. Blah blah blah. Here's how I felt about this movie, but I was also in this. Oh, let me go check that out. Because there is times where people just don't know that they were in other movies, like you were just saying, like, hey, I was also in this, or I'm gonna be in this movie coming out. Like, okay, I'm gonna check that out too.
I mean, yeah, like Courtney Gaines, I met him at Scarefest a couple years ago, and he didn't act like he was too thrilled about being known as I think was he Malachi in Children of the Corn. He wasn't crazy about people coming up and saying, "Hey, it's the guy, it's Malachi from Children of the Corn." But actually looking at his, some of his stills that he had laid out there, he was in Back to the Future. He was in it was a World War II plane movie, Memphis Belle. He was actually like one of the bombardiers in one of the B-52 bombers, you know.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm like, I told him, I was like, dude, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were really that much of a versatile actor. And he was kind of my springboard for me to start researching a lot of these actors and actresses before I meet them to see, where, like what else they've been in, what else would I enjoy watching them in, or and some of them, like I said, some of them don't like to be pigeonholed in the fact that their main claim to fame was horror. Some of them just try to break out of that mold and do, like, again, Courtney Gaines did. He was in Memphis Belle. That's really a damn good World War II movie if you're into World War II. And he was, again, he was a fantastic actor in that. And I had no idea, So I kind of felt like a dick, running up to him and saying, "Oh, hey, it's the guy from, Children of the Corn."
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely got a whole other layer that that people don't know about. So
that's cool though. Like, I think I'm actually gonna trying to start doing that. Like, just look at, instead of watching like Friday the 13th for the millionth time, watch another movie Kane Hodder was in, or instead of watching Sleepaway Camp again, watch something else Felissa Rose was in, and well, anybody else that I plan on meeting at this con next month, or that I know I'm gonna at least bump elbows with, or rub elbows with, and just check other things out and bring that up when I talk to them. Like, hey, I seen you in such and such a movie. That was cool. That was good. You were great in this too, but I seen you in this as well.
yeah, I mean, you will be surprised at, like, I mean, you can make friends really really quick with some of these celebrities, and and be one of their favorite, because a lot of times if you make a big enough impression, they'll remember you next time you come around.
Mm-hmm.
Say they come to the same con that you go, or maybe show up at a different con that you happen to attend. If you make a big enough impression on them, they're going to recognize you, and they're going to, like, I mean, I got several celebrities that I've met over time that I've met, in other areas, other local, cons and things, and they remember me because, again, I spout off a lot of useless horror trivia, but the fact that, I actually knew more of their obscure roles, or maybe I remembered something they said from a movie that was, not that great, or maybe not that obscure. The fact that I took the time to research them, actually, it does, say a lot about, I'm really, into your work, kind of thing. And they'll remember that.
They do, and I think I just love it, man. Like, I love these cons. I love doing this podcast and meeting cool fans. It's so crazy how horror brings so many of us people together. Like I said, we watch the craziest shit people watch as far as movies go, and we're like some of the nicest people in the world.
I mean, it's definitely, like, when it comes to being dedicated to your craft, kind of thing. I mean, I always kind of put myself into zombie movies and stuff, and that was kind of the thing that I always, was into, was zombie movies. And I like some slasher films, and I like some, werewolf movies and things. But over time, I'm kind of like, it's kind of been done to death. I mean, after a while, you're kind of like, I really need to start breaking out and looking at other, other genres, or other, other types of horror, I guess. And so that's why I started expanding my palette, started researching a lot of these films and things, and, like, some of the actors and actresses, and it's kind of like the whole Amazon. When you start watching movies on Amazon Prime, it has other customers have watched.
Yep.
And it actually show, like, movies that were either made by the same person, same director, or had the same actors and actresses in it, or same theme, same year, same whatever. So it's kind of where, being how my mind works, I get into a rabbit hole. That's how I found, and interestingly enough, how I found a lot of things on YouTube that I like, little short films and things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I get in a rabbit hole, I'll start watching, how to change a, spark plug in my, Nissan, and then eventually end up into watching some sort of documentary on how they shot a fan film, about Friday the 13th. It's just
Yeah.
It's how my mind works, dude. It's like, I absorb all this, useless horror trivia and stuff, and but I can't tell you like something I did last week. I can't tell you like any of my schedule or anything last week what I did. So, and it's funny because that's, having ADHD, that's how my mind operates. It's like it clings to certain things and other stuff,
It just, yep.
Yeah, stuff I probably should know, like, I should probably know every traffic law out there. But in order to make room, I might forget certain things and kind of push that out,
Mm-hmm.
I just need to know how to drive to and from work, so, I'm good.
You're good.
I don't need all the interstate rules and, like, all the, yield and all that stuff. I don't need to remember all that. I need to put more phantasm trivia in my head, so I'll just kick the other stuff out,
I agree. I'm with you 100% on that. I'm like, oh, yeah. Aaron, what'd you do yesterday? I watched a bunch of horror movies. Well, what'd you do last week? Same thing.
I mean, I don't even know if I could go probably that detail with it. I mean, I worked, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember leaving the house, but I don't remember exactly what I did. So, but that's kind of where, I guess that's why that a lot of times, and I got a friend of mine, his son has got autism, and this kid can go toe-to-toe with me on horror trivia. He's like a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he's like, I mean, he impresses me with some of his knowledge, because, like, he can tell you, like, if you bring up a random, say, Friday 13th, Part 5, he can tell you who directed it, who star, and I'm not talking, like, the main stars of the movie. He can tell you, like, the guy that did the lighting and the gaffing in the movie.
That's amazing.
He can tell you, like, how much the budget was, how much they grossed that, the first, weekend it was released.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude's a machine. Like, just, I love talking to this kid.
That's amazing.
And he's just like, he's a machine with this stuff. I'm like, I thought I was, absorbed a lot of horror information and a lot of useless trivia, but like he's just like, he's like a computer, dude. He just stores everything. It's phenomenal.
Yep.
I'm jealous, like, I mean, I want to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Me too.
The closest thing I can get to is, like, I grew up in 80s, and listen to 80s music, so I can actually tell you, like, what artist, what year it came out. That's kind of my thing, but, so, yeah, he's just, does fantastic stuff, like, with horror trivia. So, maybe at some point in time, I may actually have to see if I can get him involved, and maybe, because there's probably stuff that even I don't know, believe it or not.
That he can tell you, which would be cool.
he will school me on it for sure.
Hey, that's awesome. You can learn from kids sometimes, and hey, he's more than welcome to come on. That'd be fun. That'd be awesome. One of my I guess we could wrap it up soon, but my I guess you can say he's my nephew too. My brother's nephew, he into horror like that. Like, I think the only horror movie he's seen was Poltergeist. But he likes the Dead Meat podcast. He likes watching the kill count, and he'll read a bunch of horror about a bunch of horror movies. He can tell you, like you're saying, same with this kid, and he has autism too. And it's just crazy how like locked in they get with when when he's interested in something. And right now it's horror. He's locked in. He studies. He'll tell you shit about a movie you've probably seen a million times that he's never seen, but tell you what happened in that movie, tell you a scene, tell you who was in it, something that you missed. And he'll say, yeah, well, this is what happened in this, and this is when this movie came out. This same exact thing you said, so I know exactly what you mean. I'm just like, wait, when did you see this movie? Never. He's never seen this movie. He watched something on YouTube and just gets into that rabbit hole of just watching these movies, watching these videos, YouTube videos, this, that, and the third, and boom, I'm like, he's an expert on this. So I want to get him on. I want to try to get him on at least a YouTube show, if not on a podcast. I think he would have fun with that.
Yeah, guys, like, yeah, that's it. Chris, I love this kid though. He's just like, yeah, he's a machine, and we'll banter back and forth on things. I'm kind of like, I'll give him a movie, and I'm like, okay, like I'll give him certain hints of the movie and stuff, and then he'll just start taking off with it, and and I can actually go jump on IMDb or Wiki, and just boom, 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 he just matches it all up, and
That's awesome,
just phenomenal. Yeah, I love this kid though. So we definitely we have a lot in common with he's into comic books as well. I'm a big comic book nerd. So he's really big into comic books and things, and we talk a lot about comics, and it just amazes me, and so it's sort of how my mind operates. But a lot of people say, what's it like to have ADHD? I said, well, the best accurate description I can give you is to take all your thoughts and put them in a nice, neat little Rolodex, and then take the Rolodex, throw it into a fan, and then start slashing it with a samurai sword. That's about the best way to describe how our minds work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could be thinking about Return of the Living Dead, and then be thinking about I need to go get my oil changed in my car, to, I like to have a gyro from this Egyptian place here in town, to, I wonder if this shirt that I wore back when high school was in my storage building. It's just completely random thoughts, which, again, it's kind of awesome when I get to YouTube because I get these rabbit holes and I find all kinds of neat stuff. So, but it's infuriating sometimes, but it's also it's just how my mind operates.
Yeah, yep, and you learn to live with it and figure it out in some ways, and make sure you get your oil changed. That's important.
Embrace it, kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to. You embrace it. You crack jokes about yourself, and you learn. Like I said, you learn to live with it and find out the great things about it. Shit, if it wasn't for that, you might not be into horror like you are.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've kind of I don't know if I'd say it grew on me. I think it was something I was kind of born into. Because my dad, again, back when he was alive, whether he wanted to admit it or not, he was into horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom was into horror movies, and she also liked to read. And my uncle was into horror movies, so I got a triple threat, with watching horror movies and stuff. I mean, they started when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I started watching these movies. My uncle would bring over a VHS or a Betamax player, and we would start watching, Creepshow and Predator and Poltergeist and Friday the 13th. So, I grew up watching this stuff, and it was like, I was completely just mesmerized. This whole world they introduced me to. Most kids are watching, Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, and I did watch that stuff, but I would much rather watch Friday the 13th and, Halloween and The Thing. So,
Yep.
It's just amazing. I took off with it, and it's been something I've loved ever since then. And I've amassed quite a collection of props and magazines and things I've collected as a kid. I mean, I've got stuff that I've had since I was like 6 years old.
That's awesome.
So
that's really cool. Like me, as far as I was always into horror, but as far as collecting, I probably just started collecting stuff maybe in the past, I'll say 10 years tops. I mean, I've always gotten movies here and there, but as far as getting figures and masks, well, I don't have a lot of masks, but Jason masks and figures and stuff like that was more recent, more pretty much when I was working and can buy it on my own type of thing.
I mean, I would buy Fangoria was a big back in especially in the late 70s, early 80s,
mm-hmm.
and I started buying those, and then I bought a few of the Famous Monsters was a big one that I really enjoyed, and which also kind of kickstarted my love for Universal Studios monsters. There was, of course, now they've got Rue Morgue out, which is it's a fantastic publication. They used to throw those in with those subscription boxes I used to get, and they're really an awesome magazine. And so I started collecting those, and then of course they had T-shirts they offered in the back of them, and masks and things. And I started ordering things from them, and which kind of developed into the finding things like VHS tapes and stuff, like these rare horror movies, which again got me into some of the Italian zombie movies and stuff, and Italian cinema.
Mm-hmm.
their stuff, it's funny you mentioned that you were talking about top 10 kills. I think one of the top 10 kills for me is actually an Italian film.
Oh.
So that's something we'll have to touch up on, at a later date. But
definitely,
very, very brutal kill, and it's very realistic looking. So it still to this day kind of turns my stomach a little bit, and that says a lot because I don't think there's a horror movie out there, with the exception of this particular one, that could really make me cringe watching it. So, and like I said, that's a whole other topic that we'll have to, like I said, we can make a whole other show on just this movie alone and the disturbing things about it. So,
I can't wait. I'm excited. I cannot wait for this. This, like I said, this is going to be a really, really, really fun thing. And between what I discussed with the guys the other day and what me and you discussed last week and earlier today when we were talking, there's going to be a lot of cool shit that people are going to be like, holy shit, these guys are doing some cool ass shit with this.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't begun to scratch the surface yet, though. I mean, with all the stuff that's, that's out there, we've got a whole other, not to mention the genres and the directors, and we've got enough to keep us busy from here until the end of time. So,
and that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to do too. I want to get to the point where we're almost annoying to people because we're coming out with so much. Like, oh my god, you guys have more shit to talk about. What the fuck? They have 400 fucking episodes, 800 YouTube things, and what do they have to say next? Well, here you go.
Yeah. You can. I'm sure that at some point we, what's that? There's a I guess I can't remember what it's called, but apparently some sort of a theory that there's if there's, I guess, like a fetish for it, there's probably a movie for it, kind of thing. Most of it references porn, but they actually do say there's one for horror too. Like if there's something out there that is scary or could be scary to somebody, they've made a horror movie about it at some point, or they're going to.
Exactly.
So I mean, you'll touch on somebody's deep, dark, primordial fear, or something they've found interesting. Like with like I said, the Terrifier thing. I mean, that's people think clowns are scary, and then you got one that's going around sawing people in half. Yeah, So yeah, I mean, at some point in time, we're gonna touch a nerve on somebody that's gonna be like, oh my god, I remember that movie when I was 4, and it scared the hell out of me, kind of thing. So
yep, I can't wait for that. That's the ones I can't wait for, to get like the feedback. Like, wow, I haven't seen this movie since I was 10 years old. It scared the hell out of me. I forgot about it. Fuck you and thank you at the same time for bringing it up. You're welcome.
I used to work on a website though that the people would come in. They had a forums on there, and they would come in and give you the most like completely obscure, vague descriptions. Like they would be like, I watched this movie when I was like 5, and I remember there was a demon in it, and there was this happened, and I remember seeing like a band like. Some kind of obscure band that was in the movie. Mm-hmm. And our job was to figure out what the hell they were talking about.
Wow.
Because these people would I want to watch this movie again, but I don't remember, this is all I remember about it. And so we would sit there and deconstruct this vague description they would give us, and then fire back and say, okay, this is the movie you're talking about.
Awesome.
We had probably a 95% success rate. Like, we would usually almost every time nail the movie. And, every so often, though, some people would come in there and be like, I remember this one movie, and I think it was a short film, and it had this guy that was like, the light swinging back and forth, and it's like, it kind of like when the light goes this way, you can see the guy's like turning wrenches, and he's screwdriving something, and he's like doing this, and he's working on something. And I'm like, my God, I was like, I've heard this before. And come to find out, they had referenced and I was the only one that caught this. It was a short film they used to do for USA's Saturday Nightmares back in the early 80s. It was a little, like they'd do little shorts in between the commercial breaks.
Oh, nice.
Into the movies. And one of them was about a guy that was building a huge mousetrap. And at the end of it, he turns his head and lays it down on the mousetrap. And when the trap comes around, it smacks the light and breaks it. And you hear a snap.
Oh, shit.
Like the guy's neck snapping. And the way they did it was just, it was just mind-blowing. It's so good. And the guy was like, holy crap, dude. He's like, I thought I was the only person that ever saw this. I'm like, no, I remember it really well. And
that's cool.
it's just like it's just so fantastic to be able to people remember stuff like this because I thought for years I was crazy that nobody remembered USA Nightmares or Up All Night or Night Flight or any of these old shows I used to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But slowly but surely, a lot of these people are starting to come out of the woodwork. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Saturday Nightmares, and somebody messaged me the other day and was like, hey, do you remember an old show on USA called Saturday Nightmares? I'm like, thank you, I'm not crazy. It's kind of a Mandela effect here where the show existed and some weird time paradox disappeared, and I'm the only crazy one who remembers that show. So
I like that, man. I like that a lot. But I guess we can wrap this one up. I'm gonna go eat and hang out with the wife for a little bit before she falls asleep because she has to work tomorrow and I don't, and I gotta rub that in her face a little. But this was a good time, man, and this is like I said, like we both said, this is just the beginning. I cannot wait to see where this goes. And oh man, thank you for coming on, though.
I appreciate you having me here. And like I said, if and anybody's listening out there, it's Veterans. Happy Veterans Day. I think that's tomorrow. So
yes, happy Veterans Day, and thank you.
One military man to all the other military men and women out there. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much for your service. Everybody that's involved in the military in any way, shape, or form. Everybody's family that are involved in the military in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate it. I respect it. I love it. Thank you. And I know, I'm pretty sure everybody has family that's been in the military, whether it be your great grands up down till your parents. So anyway, thank you. My hat's off to all of you guys. I appreciate that.
So like I said, but yeah, again, like I said, I appreciate everybody's tuning in, and if you guys, like I said, when we post the podcast up, if you guys want to give some feedback, is something that you want us to touch up on or expand on or discuss, would love to hear your feedback on that too. I love it when people come out from my live feeds and like, hey, could you discuss, this? You touched on this subject. Could you expand on it? So please, by all means, message us. Let us know what you want to hear. Tell your friends about us and stuff, so we can
definitely,
we can definitely get some serious discussions going on.
And if you ever want to be a guest with us, and it's me, it's Jason, and there's 4 other lovely people who will be on this. Shoot me, horror with sir30, horrorwithsir.30@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, or I'm sure you can message any of the other guys. Hey, we'd like to do an episode with you guys, and we'll make it happen. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fan-friendly. And the only person that's not welcome on here is Nicolas Cage and Corey Feldman. Anybody else? Hit me up. But, do you have anything you want to plug?
Like I said, yeah, we're starting to ramp up on Scarefest, and it's going to be in Lexington, Kentucky, if you guys are interested or close by. And we're still hashing out some of the celebrities, but I think what we've got lined up this year is going to really knock it out of the park. So, be sure to check this out on that. There's actually a Scarefest page on Facebook. If you get on there, like I said, we'll be announcing hopefully some announcements soon with some of the celebrities and things. But we're going to a unique, a unique dynamic this year. So we're trying to mix it up a little bit and get some people in there that we have been dying to have in there that you guys have really been bugging us for. Nice. So, I hope that everybody's going to be thrilled about this one, at least excited as I am.
Awesome. And feel free to share that in the Horror Research 30 group, the Sharefest stuff, and all that awesome horror, anything horror related, as you know, to get it out there and get people to see it. And definitely go check that out. And I don't know when he's gonna start doing these Facebook Live videos, but he's gonna have to share them in the group because I want him to. But you gotta check out his Facebook Live videos. He usually does them on Fridays, and he has the masks you see in these movies. They're fucking amazing. And he'll just go on there, talk about them, show them, and just talk some horror with you guys. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm sure he'll be doing that soon. And keep supporting horror, all different areas of horror from the top to the bottom. Any podcast you listen to, not just this one, any YouTube channel you watch, not just mine, anything horror related, go check it out, support it, back these indie horror films, and as always, I'll see you in your nightmares.